Beryl, first of all, so nice to meet you and so glad you could join us. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rachel.
Absolutely. So I know a little bit about who you are, but can you tell our audience members who might not know who you are and the work that you do?
Right. I started my career in venture capital. Was based out of Shanghai, looking at very early stage, tech companies, and eventually joined Coins.ph, as an early team member, where I took an interest of looking into Bitcoin as an infrastructure to move funds. This was acquired by Gojek, and then I started a company in 2016. It was asset backed tokenization. So we had a tokenization platform. So that assets were actually acquired by Smart Card. So they're a publicly listed company in New York, looking at like PCI compliant payments. And then that was in 2019, 18, 19, when I started consulting for financial services and banks, right? So one of them is the innovation arm of Union Bank in the Philippines. I was building an investment platform for real estate backed tokenization. And then COVID hit, the pandemic, right? And
Yeah.
my co-founder and we started like yield farming. And that's how we decided to work on yield guild games.
Okay, so can you just give a TLDR on what yield farming is for somebody who might not know what that is?
Okay, so just like what yield farming
Yeah,
is.
just like a quick
Okay.
little explanation.
Right. So if you actually have like a principal, it's kind of like depositing your principal into a smart contract that actually provides you interest yield. Yeah. So you actually have to leave your principal
Okay,
inside the
gotcha.
smart
So how did that evolve into Yield Guild games? First of all, let's just say what is Yield Guild games?
Right. So we're a guild, and we do have players, but then we are acquiring a number of NFT assets that we actually lend to our players.
Okay, gotcha. So how did the concept of yield farming sort of lead to the development of this guild, as you say?
Right. So maybe I'll introduce what play to earn is, and maybe a
Yes.
little bit of a background. So when the pandemic hit in the Philippines, there's a number of people who've actually lost their jobs, and these are the likes of like factory workers or those that are bus drivers, and they don't really have a really long like they don't have a lot of savings, right? So they wouldn't last like a month without work, because they normally get paid weekly or if not even daily, right? So there's really a need for them to make income. And
Right.
the story around here is, uh, because of the lockdown, um, like parents, for example, they don't have anything to feed their kids. And sometimes I hear like really like extreme stories that they're actually feeding their kids with instant coffee, or they wouldn't even feed their kids for like 2 days,
Yeah.
because they could not make a living. But then Leia from Emphasis, she released an article around Axie Infinity, that there is a district in the Philippines that it really spread like wildfire, where people started
Hmm.
downloading the game. And what people do is they actually spend hours or time playing, Axie, right? So they have to acquire Axies, like an Axie team, and then they actually end
Hmm.
up like entering the game and playing, and they actually end up earning in-game rewards. We call it like small love potions, or SLP. This SLP can actually be converted to Philippine pesos, and through localized exchanges in the Philippines. And so that's how they convert rewards, like
Okay.
token rewards, to Philippine pesos. And that's how they're able to, provide like milk for their kids, food on their table. So it became really, really interesting. But the issue is the prizes to enter, the prices of these NFTs to enter a game increases over time, right?
Hmm.
And at that time, having $100 Axie team is not possible for a lot of these Filipinos to even enter the game to earn. So
Right.
what we're doing is we started like breeding Axies. We started buying NFTs in general, not only for Axie Infinity, but we also got into like several other games. And that's when we started offering like scholarships where we provide NFTs to our players, and the players actually end up like playing using our NFTs to earn our rewards.
Okay, that's amazing. So I love that this is something that was born out of a real need, because I think in the crypto space, maybe things are starting to change now, but there's always been this conversation about the unbanked, or like, people who don't have a lot of money, who are low income and don't have access to financial services, and that cryptocurrencies serve these people, and that crypto platforms are being created to serve these people. But a lot of the times those platforms are sort of looking at that demographic from a very high level. They don't really totally understand the needs of those people, or in many cases they're not even in communication with them directly at all. But this seems like it's something that came specifically from a group of people that really needed financial support.
That's right. Yeah. And what's really exciting about, so I know that you asked a question, what is the relationship between, DeFi, yield farming, and what we're doing at Axie, at YGG, by leasing out NFTs. So DeFi is about, next generation, like banking, right?
Yeah.
But when you actually look at, what we're doing, it's more than banking the unbanked, right? Because you're actually helping a lot. First, to be able to bank somebody, they need to already have savings, right? To be able to make deposits, and they need to already have jobs to be able to get loans, right? And they need to have a long credit history to be able to get better rates, right? Like better
Yeah.
rates on their so that's not possible for a lot of the population in the Philippines, just because there's hardly any credit rating. And because of COVID, they've actually lost their jobs and they don't have savings, right?
Right.
So I think to be able to really provide financial services to this population, it is helping them generate yields through playing, right? So we wanted to change. Okay, so instead of having your principal or going through like Aave or Compound and like borrowing, lending, let's start first with a group that don't have anything yet, and let's help them produce something, and then later on, we could provide all these other financial services on top. Because by the way that they're using these NFTs to play as well, it's like financial education 101, right? So in DeFi, provide them like tell them, oh, download MetaMask. You need to buy Ether. You need to store Ether in a smart contract to produce yield. They might not be able to actually grasp that concept, right? Because there's still a lack of financial education in the Philippines. But by starting with playing to earn, right? Like earning yield by playing, they actually get that concept. And you'll start seeing that our players are starting to develop a different kind of mindset on how they strategize in their gaming, what should they do with their rewards, where should I actually spend my rewards at, right? So so it's financial education 101 before it goes to pure DeFi.
So tell me, so what's the vision then when it goes to pure DeFi and you start providing these financial services sort of on top of what you're already doing? What will that look like?
Right. So right now at Yield Guild Games, we are using our own assets to actually lend out to our players. Right. So since we've launched late last year, we already have 9,000, 10,000 Discord members. So it's through our Discord where the scholarships and lending happen. So what's going to happen is we're breeding, and then we're acquiring a lot of these NFTs, release them out, right? And
Hmm.
we kind of like know which games they kind of um, like better, right? And the second stage of what we're going to be doing is opening up that marketplace to NFT
Okay.
holder, right? So it's not only going to be YG assets, but we're opening up to individuals that also have hold assets of the games that we're supporting, right? Yeah.
Okay, okay, gotcha. So if I have an NFT for like, game A or game B or game C, then I can potentially trade it or like somehow otherwise use it in this DeFi like ecosystem that you're creating.
Yeah, so they can actually list their NFT assets, and like our algo would start like matching them with a scholar. So now they could actually lease out their NFTs to somebody who can earn yield with their NFTs. So if
Okay,
they
this is so
believe
cool.
that their
So,
NFTs, yeah. Oh,
oh,
so if they
sorry.
believe that their NFTs are going up in time, and they don't want to sell it because they think that it'll appreciate, in 3 months, 6 months, or a year, then might as well just hold it but earn yield, right? By holding that
Mhm.
asset. So they'd be able to do that by loaning it out on this marketplace, where players in the Philippines would be able to use them to actually play and earn rewards.
Okay, I see. So talk to me on a very, very practical level. Um, what kind of things do you do in these games in order to receive rewards?
So with Axie, they need to battle. Yeah,
Okay, okay, great. Yeah. So it's really like
battle.
just video game battling like in the truest sense.
That's right. Yeah, and yeah, we're looking at other games as well. So various mechanics, right? Like
Okay.
racing, for example. Yeah, all sorts.
Okay, right. So potentially, I think when we sort of think about like the furthest extreme use cases for this kind of technology, like is it possible that, for example, I could have a job as like I don't know, like a warrior in a game, that I log in every day and play my game and earn SLP or another blockchain token that I can take in and use like sort of or convert at least to other cryptocurrencies or fiat currencies that I could then use to pay my bills and that sort of thing.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, wow. I just think that's so cool. So what are the, from your perspective, um, obviously this work is being done to empower these communities in the Philippines, financially. What is sort of the long-term vision or goal, perhaps beyond the Philippines, beyond this, specific demographic? What do you see the potential of the things that you're doing specifically, and also this sort of concept in general?
So so our focus right now would be those communities, right? Just because we
Mhm.
believe they're underserved. And then once we are able to, provide our services to these communities, we see it as a platform to help them get into DeFi.
Okay.
Um, and how we also see it is because we'll also have like a marketplace for open to anybody who hold NFTs. So investors can now participate as well and earn yield,
Hmm.
right? So now
Okay.
you have NFT holders, and you also have players that just want to borrow NFTs rather than buying them, right? Purchasing
Okay.
them,
Hmm.
especially that NFT prices are going up right now. So they're becoming more.
Okay. Right, I see. And sorry, I'm sort of jumping around here a little bit. So, how do you choose like which games that you're going to integrate with?
Right. So we do have a criteria. We look at blockchain games that have a play to earn economics, where
Hmm.
when you actually play, you end up earning rewards, in-game
Okay.
rewards.
Hmm.
Yeah. So those are the ones that we
Okay.
also land-based. That's really important for us.
Sorry,
Uh,
can you repeat that?
Land-based. So the likes of
Land-based. Okay.
Sandbox, League of Kingdoms, Axie. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So so speaking of NFTs, I want to talk to you a little bit about your thoughts on that space and why it's so explosive at this moment. And obviously, there's a future, or that you. I'm sorry. Let me start that over. Obviously, you see a future for NFTs in gaming, and there's I spoke with Samson Mao a couple of weeks ago about NFT use cases in gaming that NFT markets sort of heading in the long term. There's been a lot of questions about, particularly in the artistic space, about what NFTs will be used for in the future. Because right now it's like you can own an NFT, but what does it really mean? Sometimes it doesn't really mean much. In other cases, particularly in gaming, NFTs actually sort of have use cases beyond just the fact that it's a speculative investment.
Mhm.
How do you see this market transforming over the next, let's say, year to 5 years?
Right. So uh, NFTs, right? Maybe we could actually start defining what an NFT is. So how NFTs are created, they're
Sure.
actually uh, created on the blockchain. So the blockchain becomes a registry. So it's
Mhm.
transparent, right? It's kind of like proof of authenticity.
Mhm.
So that's what, like if you look into an ERC 721 contract, it's just a form of registering, um, a unique asset
Mhm.
on the blockchain, right? And it just so happened that people just call this process a non-fungible token, right? Because
Mhm.
it's it's unique, right? So each registry is unique, and there are particular uh, assets that would fit the non-fungible token kind of like criteria, right? So an
Yeah.
example would be in the real world, that would be land registries, right? Because there's only one land title ever, right? And you could
Mhm.
actually register it on the blockchain by looking into its like metadata, right? Because each land title would have certain a unique specs, right? Like where is its latitude, longitude, name of the previous owner, so on and so forth, barangay or location, right?
Mhm.
Square meters. So these are unique metadata, unique to a particular asset, right? And
Mhm.
when you register this unique asset on the blockchain, it is non-fungible, right? So this is
Mhm.
how the term non-fungible tokens actually came into existence. Now, this 721 contract has been used in so many areas, right? And it's being used in art uh, because you know an artist's work would be unique, right? So
Mhm.
if they really want to differentiate an original from somebody who has a replica, then the blockchain is a perfect way to actually create its certificate, right? So maybe looking at it as like a digital certificate form, right? So before we actually have these like land titles, certificates, right? Um, NFT is about digitizing these certificates that prove authenticity and uniqueness.
Mhm.
Yeah, so now it's being used in art. It could be used in games because there would actually be unique assets uh, within the metaverse game, that particular
Right.
metaverse. So you want to be able to differentiate one asset from another asset, then you create an NFT.
Right,
I hope I
exactly.
explained
So
it.
Yeah. So we've got these unique digital objects that exist in games, and I think that like one of the things that people have sort of been talking about is the fact that this makes uh, different objects in games non-platform dependent. So like if I buy a sword in World of Warcraft and then World of Warcraft disappears from the face of the earth, like I still technically have this unique digital object. What I can do with that digital object on what's happening at that current time. Do you think that these assets have a long-term future? Possibly even after the games in which they originated may fall out of popularity or otherwise, might be compromised or disappear?
Right. So how I see the future of blockchain gaming is if one game actually produces these assets, and let's just say,
Mm,
like you said, they vanish, right? Like they don't exist anymore, but the NFTs do. So ideally, these NFTs or these assets can actually be used in another game, right? Uh, as long as these NFTs are compatible with how that game was actually like built, like the smart contracts for this game
mhm.
supported, right? That the smart contracts are supported in that particular game. Then yes, it's possible to migrate compatible assets from a different game to another game, and so on and so
Mhm.
forth. I think that is the future of gaming.
Okay, so do you see that, or have you observed that among blockchain game developers, that they're considering building, collaborating with one another in a way that, one game could potentially be ported to assets from another game, or, assets from one game in the future could be used in the game's sequel, for example.
hmm So there have been discussions, right? And
Mhm.
one that I've seen is not a different game, but it's for example clothing, right? And you could actually from
Mm.
like from outside the game itself, the developers of the game,
Oh,
and
okay.
so this is like sandbox, right? So sandbox is open, being able to have those particular assets built outside sandbox to be migrated inside sandbox. So I think that's really pretty cool.
So I guess I'm wondering, like, obviously, getting money to people who need money is very
Mhm.
important, and that's like a major part of the work that you guys do. But you also mentioned that uh, sort of the longer term goal is to get people into DeFi. Um,
Mm.
so I wonder, like, what is it about DeFi that you think that makes it so important for this particular demographic, but also sort of people in general? Why is it so important that they get into DeFi, as you say?
So first of all, the population that I'm talking about has been, like underserved, right? And
Mm,
providing them an option is good for them, right?
mhm,
But before we could provide them options, I think it's really important that they get educated with how finance really works.
mhm,
How do interest rates work? I get my loans, and then what happens? Why do I need to? When do I need to repay these loans? Right? What happens when I
mhm,
don't repay them? And when you get to DeFi, if you look into these platforms, you're actually staking, or your principal is actually your crypto assets, right?
mhm, mhm.
So it works a little bit differently because the terms are different from what they're used to, right?
Okay.
In locally, like here in the Philippines. So I think with YGG, we're able to uh, get them, like they get to learn these terms by playing, these play to earn, and it also develops their
Okay.
mind as well,
Right.
to
Okay.
actually know what to do with these assets. So it's mostly
Okay.
like education before they can get to DeFi platforms.
Okay. Gotcha. So, and then once they're on those DeFi platforms, they can have access to financial services and other earning opportunities that perhaps they wouldn't have had in the traditional financial world.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay,
They would be able to make the right decisions. I think that's most important,
that's
that they know how
okay.
to make the right decisions for themselves.
Right. Okay. So it's like by the time they get to that stage, they've developed this financial literacy through playing these games and learning about all these different things.
That's right.
Okay, great. Um, Beryl, before we that you'd like to share or like any, let's say, pearls of wisdom for people who might be interested in this world of virtual economies and in the work that YGG is doing.
Yes. Please join our Discord channel. We actually have a channel for each games that we support. So if you'd like to actually learn more about any of these games, you're welcome to participate. Um, so about DeFi in general, I've actually learned it the hard way.
Ah,
I've made a
okay.
lot of mistakes, right? So in the beginning, there's no really good user experience, right? In a lot of these DeFi platforms, and I've made serious mistakes, right? Like depositing in wrong smart contracts, or like silly mistakes, right? And I
Yeah.
think what's really important is to really learn from these mistakes.
Hmm.
So whenever I make a mistake, I tend to remember them.
Hmm.
It's a good reminder that it's good to make mistakes, because you'll never repeat them again. So I don't think you should be really you should be scared to experiment and try things out.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that's
It
my
can be
biggest advice.
so intimidating. We've all been there. We've all sent a transaction to the wrong address or, ERC20 transaction to the Binance Smart Chain or something like that. We've all been
Yeah,
there. Yeah, Beryl, thank you so much for your time. Such a pleasure to talk with you. I personally am a big fan of your work and I wish you all the best of luck.
thank you. Thanks, Rachel.